What's up, guys? Welcome back. So today I want to talk about one of my favorite topics, if not my favorite topic, when it comes to anxiety disorder, the whole process, hurdles that we go through along our way to hopefully recovery, right? Or at least managing our anxiety better. And it's ironic that I like talking about this subject because it made my life a living hell. It seemed like it made my life miserable for a period of time. It drug out my anxiety journey. It made me feel like I couldn't accept anxiety at all because of this issue. But I like to talk about this subject because not only is it fascinating, if you can get past this hurdle, anxiety recovery not only becomes possible for a lot of you, for most of you, it actually becomes probable for a lot of you guys. Because once you get past this hurdle, your acceptance can pretty much go up to 100%. And guess what? Now you can work on all the other things that you know are great for your anxiety: exercise, diet, routine, mindfulness, exposure, learning how to handle adversity, all of these things, remaining at peace, working on the root causes, the things that led to your anxiety symptoms, when you first started to notice them, or the things that led to that eruption or that first panic attack, anxiety attack, like my situation. And what this issue is having anxiety symptoms when you don't necessarily feel consciously anxious. For a lot of you, especially in the beginning of your journey, you're consciously triggered a lot. So everybody's different. If you have bad driving anxiety, it's like you could just be walking up to a car, or for some of you even see a vehicle, and your heart rate goes up, right? Or your blood pressure goes up, or your chest gets tight. That was a situation for me. I had bad driving anxiety, so every time I got in a car and would have to drive more than just a few miles, my chest would get so tight, I'd feel like I was having a heart attack. I'd get shortness of breath, and this was a real hassle and struggle because I had to go to work and I had to commute to work. So it was hard for me to keep a job because of this. But the point is that I got consciously triggered, and therefore my symptoms came on. I didn't necessarily have the symptoms before I got in the car and got started. I could even go a few miles without having symptoms. But that was a conscious trigger. For others, it could be social situations. Those of you with social anxiety can relate with this. For some of you, it's hearing something. I had bad health anxiety, so if I heard about somebody having a heart attack, my chest would get tight. If I read something online about an actor dying of cancer, I started to exhibit those symptoms. Whatever it may be, we have our conscious triggers, right? But after you've had these for a while and you've had anxiety for a while, anxiety starts to get worse. It starts to consume more of your life. It starts to consume more of your subconscious. The longer that you have anxiety and the longer you're not working on it and you're not resolving, these conscious triggers not only spread, but the subconscious starts to feel stressed even whenever you're not consciously triggered. So therefore, this is the transition from just conscious triggers, consciously having anxiety symptoms, when you're triggered, to autopilot symptoms or more chronic symptoms. Then it got to a point to where I'm having chest pains or shortness of breath or even panic attacks out of nowhere. And unfortunately, this is where I started to really feel down and sometimes depressed because it was taking over parts of my life that I loved. And I was still able to find some peace and joy in some of these things in the beginning of my anxiety journey. But the longer that I had anxiety and the worse that it got, it was things like going to the movies, going out to eat. I loved going out to eat, and I would get stressed going out to eat. It was hanging out with my girlfriend at the time. It could be a barbecue or a party, just things that I enjoyed, traveling and things like that. In those moments that would give me some peace, or maybe a safe haven where my anxiety would kind of relax a little bit, now I'm getting symptoms in those situations and I'm not even consciously stressed. Like, I love going to the movies, I loved my friend group getting together and us hanging out or having a few beers and cooking on the grill and stuff. I loved hanging out with my girlfriend at the time. I loved, doing things with my family. But now I'm just there having a good old time, and it may start that way, but out of nowhere, my chest would just hurt so freaking bad. And that would stress me out, and then the symptoms get worse. So guess what I'm having to do? I'm having to leave barbecues early. I'm having to leave gatherings. I used to love golfing. It would show up on the golf course, and I wasn't even being triggered, I wasn't even being triggered. It would just come out of nowhere. So I'm having to leave 9 holes in of my 18 round of golf because my chest is tightening up. And I can go on and on and on. And it wasn't just chest tightness or chest pain. It would just be shortness of breath. Sometimes I would just get a palpitation and I'd go right into a full-blown panic, right? And it'd be out of nowhere. So my point is, it made acceptance very, very difficult, because that's a problem all on its own, right? That's frustrating by itself. But if you're having a hard time anyways accepting that these symptoms are anxiety and not a disease or a heart problem or cancer or whatever it is that you're fearing, this makes it extremely difficult, because it's basically convincing you that, hey, well, if this was just anxiety, you wouldn't get it in these fun situations, right? So a health anxiety sufferer is going to start to really catastrophize about this. And it's like, I couldn't get past this for the longest time, especially with my cardiophobia, my heart anxiety, my fears of having heart problems, heart attacks. I'd gone to the doctors and got the tests that I needed to get, but again, why did my symptoms pop up again when I went home after getting some reassurance? I'm sitting on a couch watching TV. I'm not stressed. Why is my heart still beating 100 miles an hour? Why is my chest tightening up? If, the doctor told me I was fine, but damn, I shouldn't be feeling like this, right? So it really messed with my acceptance, because I was just thinking, if I'm having this on a good day when I don't feel stress, I probably do have a heart problem, and they're just not finding it. And like I said, I'm talking about chest pain and shortness of breath and racing heart and stuff, but I'm telling you, this happened with all of my different vicious anxiety symptom cycles that I would go through. This happened all through my heart anxiety, which lasted 2.5 years. And then it got to a point to where I was having stomach pain. I had stomach aches, had stomach pain, and then I focused on it and put a lot of energy, negative energy and fear onto it. So then it was on autopilot. I'm waking up with stomach pain. I'm going to sleep with stomach pain. Whatever I do, no matter how much I enjoy the situation, I have stomach pain there. And then it turned into throat pain and then headaches. And guys, I had hundreds of symptoms, lymphoma scares, ear ringing that was happening on good days. It shows that your anxiety has spread. And I'm not trying to say this to discourage you. You can always start battling anxiety and taking back your life. Just know that. You can start today doing the right things. But this just means that your subconscious has gotten to such a fearful state that it's crying out for help, even when you're consciously not stressed or anxious and you're not being consciously triggered. You could be doing something that you love doing and you never experience anxiety in those moments. Now you're having those symptoms show up even there. And again, this realization was heartbreaking for me, or just the situation in general was heartbreaking, because now it's like I don't even have any safe zones. For some of you, going back home after work is like your bubble, your comfort zone, right? Like, if I can just get freaking home, I'll be fine. And now you're getting back home, you've had anxiety for a few months, and now you're having anxiety all the way into the night, and you're like, this was my safe spot. This was my safe zone. This is where I was able to kind of, take off my shoes and relax. And I'm not at work dealing with the pressures of work or dealing with the driving anxiety. And now I'm finally home. And now I'm having anxiety here too. I can't get a break. So it just shows that anxiety is starting to spread and that you need to take immediate action and start combating these things. But the first step to this, guys, is wrapping your mind around the fact that anxiety can cause symptoms when you're not consciously anxious. It just means the state of your subconscious has gotten more afraid. And instead of just kind of letting you know in certain situations or the associations that you have, like whether you're driving or gatherings, whatever these triggers are, now it's scared all the time. We have to start separating the subconscious conscious. Me talking to you right now, that's like 5% of us. Some studies even show 3%. 3% of me, let's go with 3%. 3% of me is my conscious mind. 97% of me is the subconscious. Just let that sink in. I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures of these icebergs. That little tip right there that you see, that still is pretty big. That's like that 3%. That's our conscious mind. And then you see how big that freaking iceberg is underneath the surface. Think of that as your subconscious. And what we've done with that 3%, whenever we first developed our anxiety, we'd been actually doing it before, but we'd been saying, this is dangerous, we're in trouble, we have this disease, we got this stuff going on, and you're just feeding it negativity. You're programming that 97% of you to be extremely scared. Now, instead of just like 25, 30% of your subconscious being afraid, now it's getting up to 50, 60, 70% afraid. So now guess what? Your symptoms are becoming more chronic. Your symptoms are now starting to operate on autopilot. Your symptoms are now happening when you're in a joyful situation, doing things that you love, doing things that you're passionate about. But the first step is just accepting this. Now, by all means, you have to go get reassurance from a doctor. If you have chest pains, if you have shortness of breath, you stop watching this video. If you have horrible headaches and you haven't been to the doctor, stop watching this video. You have to go get reassurance from a doctor to at least get the ball rolling. And no, that's not all you need to do, but that's the very first step. All right? But just please know that anxiety can cause this. I talk about this on this channel all the time, but again, I just feel like this is an important issue. It's a big hurdle that so many people are not getting past, and therefore they can't take anything else seriously. Your subconscious isn't going to take any of this other stuff that's good for your anxiety seriously if you don't really have any acceptance. And you're going back and forth with it like, well, if this isn't a heart problem, then why am I dealing with this, when I'm not anxious? I don't even feel anxious, but my chest hurts. Just know that the worse your anxiety gets and the longer that you don't resolve any of it, or you're not aggressive with your recovery approach, it starts to consume more of your subconscious. But don't let that scare you or discourage you or make you feel defeated. Like, you can always start taking back your subconscious today. But the problem with this, guys, is going to take time. And are you willing to do that? Are you willing to change your subconscious 1% every day? And I like the 1% thing because you'll hear some studies say it takes 30 days to create a habit, but a lot of studies are now saying like, no, it's like about 100 days to really rewire your subconscious. And I don't like putting timetables on any of the recovery, timelines, I guess, whatever. I don't like to put boundaries on it because it's not going to be exactly 100 days for you guys. But start thinking months instead of days or even weeks, right? So you're going to have to now have your routine. You're now going to have to develop the right mindset. You're now going to have to actually accept that anxiety can cause these symptoms even when you're not consciously anxious. And you're going to have to work on root causes. You're going to have to work on exposure. Guess what? Even while you have symptoms, because now your job is to gain back the trust of your subconscious. Establish that trust. You've been telling your subconscious for maybe even years that this is horrible, that we're dying or we're in trouble. We have a disease, or this is a dangerous situation at this spot. Now you have to do a lot of convincing to get it to change its mind too. Because even if you start today and you're like, look, the car's not dangerous, subconscious, say you got driving anxiety, the car's not dangerous, your subconscious will be like, whatever, dude. You've been telling me that's like hell in there for like 3 years now, and you expect me to not give you symptoms? And we have to understand that. So guess what? You got to come through and you got to walk the walk instead of talk the talk. So you get in the car, expect the symptoms to happen, and you start showing your subconscious who's running this around here. You can keep sending me symptoms, but guess what? I'm going to show up every day, and I'm going to show you that there's nothing to be afraid of. And that's just an example of the car. Think about all the things that make you afraid or trigger your anxiety, all the associations that you've created over probably years, right? We got to stop avoiding. We got to stop showing our subconscious that those situations are dangerous. And then once we're in those situations, we got to stop running from them or trying to escape so we don't confirm fight or flight. And then we got to change our response. But this is, again, is one of my favorite topics, having anxiety symptoms when I'm not even freaking anxious. And it plagues people with health anxiety like it plagued me for so freaking long. But there's a lot that goes into recovery. But once you get past this, guys, you can actually start working on everything else. And if you're interested in recovery and you want to start working hard, please grab my course, Elite Anxiety Bootcamp. It's helping so many freaking people out there. It's my step-by-step process, so if you're ready to actually accept and to put in the hard work, guess what? Elite Anxiety Bootcamp is going to be perfect for you, and it's going to help you with your recovery. So try that out. It's down below in the description and in the first pinned comment. Very, very affordable. That's another little perk to it, and you get lifetime access. Online therapy, guys. Therapy can help some of you out, so try out online therapy. It's a way to get your foot in the door, especially if you're nervous with face-to-face type of sessions. You can do it on the phone, the laptop, the PC, so it's pretty convenient. So try that out. My one-on-one coaching program, there's an email that you can reach out to me and I can send you that information. It's just phone calls, which I think are extremely beneficial. That again is changing people's lives. I've helped so many people through my coaching program to recovery. So try that out. It's actually a way for me to hear your story and give you personalized strategy, if that makes sense. So I got a lot of different options for that. And subscribe if you are new, guys. And please turn on notifications because I've been uploading a lot more recently. Thank you for so much support with the comments and the likes, guys. You can also share these videos with people that have anxiety that you know of. That would help out a lot. And yeah, until the next one, guys, I love you all and keep fighting.